Jameer, get it. Oh, he's gone. See you later. Oh, the speed. What a start for Jameer. Lions take the NFC on the strength of Jahmyr Gibbs and their defense. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Lions win 31-9, dominating fashion. And although it was not perfect and it was not what I predicted, the Lions will take the number one seed in the NFC and have won the NFC North. They are the first seed for the first time in the franchise's history. They've also won 15 games for the first time in franchise's history. What a night in Detroit. We're going to go through this in some detail. We'll talk about the game, do a quick recap. We'll look at the stats, the team stats, the box score, how the Lions defense was able to hold down the Minnesota Vikings. What a performance by Aaron Glenn and the defense. What a performance by Jahmyr Gibbs, 4 touchdowns. The returning Alex Anzalone having such a big impact on this game. We're going to talk about all of it. Let's get into this amazing NFC matchup. In what many would have told you was supposed to be a high-scoring game, a shootout affair between a depleted Lions defense and a high-scoring Minnesota offense. Obviously, the number one offense in football with the Detroit Lions really didn't turn out that way, especially in the first half. But we have to give credit where credit is due. The Lions' defensive performance in this Week 18 matchup against the Minnesota Vikings, when you had to have it, is really impressive. Aaron Glenn pretty much stamps his head coaching candidacy with a performance like this against a high-powered Minnesota offense. Sam Darnold was really held in check. Really, overall, the Minnesota Vikings offense was held in check. Really nothing through the first quarter, only 6 points through the first half, and the Lions only give up 9 points overall, end up taking this game 31-9. The Lions offense took some time to get it going, but on the back of Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions offense finally end up turning things around. They get the touchdown in the first quarter, not much in the second quarter, but did get the late Jake Bates field goal on an impressive less than 30 seconds left in the first half. The Lions are able to get the ball down the field and kick a last-second field goal. And then it was really the Jahmyr Gibbs show from there. He ends up scoring 4 touchdowns on the day. Again, we talked about Alex Anzalone returning for this matchup with the broken forearm. What a difference and an impact he had on the defense overall. I mean, we'll look at the individual stats, and he certainly, I believe, led in tackles among some other things. But just his overall leadership, having his ability in coverage for the linebacking crew, the ability for Jack Campbell to play off of him and just play a more strongly suited role off of Anzalone, it was such an impact. So you got to give him a ton of credit. But the Lions defense as a whole, what a performance. To hold Justin Jefferson down, you got to give Amik Robertson a lot of credit. And we'll talk about the game balls and the big-time performers here, you know, and we get into that after we look at these individual stats. But what a game by the Detroit Lions. They end up taking the NFC's number one seed. They win the NFC North 31-9 in Week 18. Let's very quickly buzz through the team stats. And overall, the Lions were able to round out this offensive performance, and you'll see that in the stats here. We'll go through the telling stats. I think the third down efficiency is the first one. Lions 5 of 12, and the Minnesota Vikings 3 of 13. And then the fourth down efficiency, Lions 2 of 4, and Minnesota not able to convert on any of their fourth down attempts at 0 for 3. Passing the football, Lions a little bit more successful. We'll look at the individual quarterback stats and talk about that in detail here in a moment. Both quarterbacks sacked twice. Rushing stats leaned in the Lions' favor, 178 to the Minnesota Vikings 120, but that was really only in gash plays. And again, we'll look at that in more detail. Penalties, 8 for the Lions for 49 yards, 6 for the Minnesota Vikings at 30 yards. And then red zone. I think that was really the most telling stat here. The Minnesota Vikings went 0 for 4 in the red zone, and that's credit to the Lions defense, but you got to look at the Minnesota Vikings offense. I don't know how they're able to put themselves in such short field positions so many times and not convert. So credit where credit is due to Aaron Glenn and the Lions defense, holding them 0 for 4. The Lions and the other side were 3 for 3. To me, that is the biggest difference in the game. Now, what I told you would have been the biggest difference in the game would have been the turnovers. 2 interceptions for the Lions side, and ultimately that wasn't the difference in the game. Andrew Van Ginkel almost had another one, which would have been a pick 6. That would have been a third one, and would that have shifted momentum? Who knows, but that didn't happen. Ultimately, the turnovers did not make the difference in this game. Lions ended up controlling the possession, milking the clock there at the end, and out of courtesy, I think the Vikings ended the game here. Now looking at the box score, the individual stats. Let's start with the quarterbacks, again, who I thought would make the difference in this game, and I didn't think either one was truly fantastic. Sam Darnold, I thought, struggled with the pressure that the Lions were able to put on in this game. 18 of 41, 166, sacked twice. Jared Goff, 27 of 33 for 231, had the touchdown, but 2 interceptions, was also sacked twice. On the ground, we know Jahmyr Gibbs, the story of this game, 23 carries, 139 on the ground, 3 touchdowns, a 47-yard long. Cam Akers on the other side, 6 carries for 65. Aaron Jones, 10 for 45, no rushing touchdowns. Overall, 120 yards on the ground, 178 for the Lions. Receiving, Justin Jefferson really held in check. And I told you, that's the Lion killer. You got to give the Lions secondary credit. They held him down even after the Terrion Arnold injury. They filled in well. Justin Jefferson only 3 receptions for 54 yards. Jalen Naylor 3 for 53. Aaron Jones had 5 for 30. That was pretty much it for them. Detroit side, Amon-Ra, 6 receptions for 77. Nothing crazy out of him today. Sam Laporta, again, another consistent day, 7 for 63. J-Mo, 6 for 34. Jahmyr, 5 for 31. 1 score, 4 touchdowns overall. And then defensively, I thought Minnesota was good for a majority of this game. Ivan Pace Jr. made the big play, got the interception, also led the team with tackles with 10. Blake Cashman, 8. Byron Murphy, Cameron Bynum, Andrew Van Ginkel, 7. They each had tackles for loss. And then Jonathan Greenard, also fantastic. 2 tackles for loss in the sack. They made plays, just not enough of them, unfortunately, to keep themselves in the game. On the defensive side for the Lions, again, so much credit to Alex Anzalone for returning through the injury, along with Aaron Glenn in the scheme, the pressure they were able to get up front. I thought they were just very, very good. Thanks to Alex Anzalone for being the team captain, the player he is. He also led the team in tackles today with 7. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell all had 6. Zadarius Smith with a sack, and Muhammad also had the other sack for the Lions. And then special teams, not much on the return game for either side. Jake Bates 1 for 1 with the 48-yard field goal. Will Riker did have the 1 miss, but did make 3 of his 4 field goals and had the 51-yard long. Punters both very good. I thought Ryan Wright actually flipped the field very well compared to Jack Fox, who's the Pro Bowler there. But again, not much special team-wise to talk about in this particular football game. Now let's hand out some game balls for this huge Lions victory in Week 18, this number 1 seed clinching victory. Let's start defensively. They certainly earned it today, holding Minnesota to 9 points. You got to start with Aaron Glenn. Overall, I'm giving the defense a game ball. They were fantastic today when you had to have it. They were backed up several times. They were put in tough positions with the Jared Goff turnovers, and they held up so well. So Aaron Glenn gets a game ball today. Individually, I think Alex Anzalone certainly deserves a game ball. We talked about it in detail, so I won't beat it up. But again, led the team in tackles with 7, was really the heart of the defense in returning, helped in coverage. You saw him play T.J. Hockenson very well at occasion, and they weren't getting that, especially in the previous matchup against the 49ers. So he certainly deserves one. I thought Amik Robertson also was fantastic in this game. Depleted in the cornerback room now. He was one-on-one against Justin Jefferson all night long and held him in check. Only 3 receptions out of Justin Jefferson, and he did not see the end zone in this matchup, and is a huge part of why the Minnesota Vikings only were able to score 9 points in this game. Zadarius Smith, another one. I thought he really worked hard today. He was not only did he get the sack, but he was in the face of Sam Darnold all day. That front 7 in general, the pressure was really there. And again, that goes back to the Aaron Glenn scheme. Really, really good. But I think those 3 guys, along with Aaron Glenn, deserve game balls for Week 18. And then offensively, game balls for this Week 18 victory against Minnesota. I'm going to give one to Jared Goff, and I know he did have the 2 interceptions, but I think his ability to shake that off, to forget about those things and make the next play so that those things don't get compounded. His ability to maintain composure through the pressure. Minnesota's defense is no joke. Brian Flores brought it. I think he mixed it up a lot in this game and gave Jared Goff a lot to think about, and he's able to dissect that. So even through 2 interceptions, I think without him, you don't win this football game. So he deserves a game ball through all of it. And then Sam Laporta as well. I think he's become such a security blanket for Jared Goff, especially towards these last few games, and it really wasn't like that early on in the season. Well, he had 7 receptions for 63 yards and was there when he truly needed that security blanket, the second and third option. He seems to find himself open and really had himself a day. But overall, I think the ultimate game ball and your MVP for Week 18, I think it's obvious offensively, is Jahmyr Gibbs. 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 receiving, 23 carries, 139 yards on the ground. Spark plays all over the place. His speed is just next level factor, even against a fast Minnesota defense. And you saw that in several occasions. And really, at the beginning of this game, in the first half and early on in the second half, they really couldn't find it offensively at times. And Jahmyr Gibbs is where they had to go to, and he was the man today. And he's the biggest reason why the Lions have now gotten the number 1 seed here in the NFC. So the Lions finished the regular season at 15-2. They take the NFC North and the NFC's number 1 seed. What a way to end the regular season here in Week 18. What a great season this has been for the Detroit Lions. They've now earned the bye week, the 1 week off. They're certainly going to have to sift through now some new injuries. You see now Terrion Arnold was carted off the field with what looked like an ankle or a foot injury. Could be a knee, could be a lot of things there. That did not look good. You also had Zeitler limping off pretty hard with what looked like could be a hamstring. So you have a lot of concerning things to look at even now after this game on top of what you've already had. But they now get that so key week off here as they move into the playoffs. They'll get to see what happens in the wild card weekend, and then we'll reconvene and see what the Lions have ahead of them. But what a game. 31-9, the Lions victorious over the Minnesota Vikings. They take the whole kit and caboodle here. We'll have the 3 key plays and grades coming up very quickly this week. We'll look ahead at the matchups going into the wild card weekend. We'll have some fun as now the Lions have the week off, so it should be great. What a fantastic game. Lions win 31-9. They take it all. Number 1 seed, NFC North. What a fantastic game. Thank you guys for sticking around for another video. Make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. Hit the notify bell. You won't miss future videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, we're on the road to 3,000 thanks to you guys. Again, I just appreciate your time. Make sure to take care of yourself and that mental health. That's more important than anything else. Oh, man, what a game. What a day. Go Lions.